Hey friends, happy Halloween. I have an activity I'm going to share with you that I've used for many years, over 20 years, probably more like 25 years, that I do for the kids' class parties and scouts and young women's, young men group for Halloween. I have another one I probably should share with you as well, but I'm going to do this one. I found it originally in a um, Cub Scout book. I'm going to put this somewhere it's not going to fall. It's class. Um, but and when I got put in Scouts, they had like 6 milk crates of binders from every year and all the ideas, and so it was too much, and our building burnt down, and I had all the Scout stuff, so I just sorted through it, and I eventually just threw 99% of it away. But this was something I actually took out of one of the Scout books and have used for many years and loved it. So if you're doing an activity, even the adults liked it when I've done it in groups where there was adults with like a pack meeting. So, but it does take a little bit of prep time, and I'll show you each different item that you would need for this, and you'll see that you have to prep some of it, and I'll share it with you. So there's a poem about a dismembered ghost, and so I got these little Halloween bags, and I've used different bags over the years, but I wrote these ones, and I keep this stuff in them, and then I just, the first time I just put the items in the bag and didn't put a plastic bag inside of them, and so they got wet and mushy. After that, I learned to put the items in a zip baggie so that they can feel in it and feel the wet stuff, but not ruin the bags, so I don't have to write bags every year. So I keep them all together, and I have them in a filing cabinet with my ideas from the kids' activities or cool ideas. I mean, back in the day, we didn't have internet and could look these fun things up, and you'd have to have your little file of holiday class activities for PTA and things like that. I did that for many years. So the first poem, it says, "This is my," and I have this on my blog. I'll blog it again. I did it years ago, but I didn't show each bag and what was in it. And but I will put the words and everything on the post with this, so you can just check out my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and type in ghost, dismembered ghost, or frozen hand would do it. So just check that out. But I wanted to share it because it's so fun. If you've got a class party or for your grandkids or something like that, it's kind of a fun activity to do for kids. They think it's really cool. So the first one is, "This is my ear once attached to my head. Be careful, it can still hear everything that is said." And they suggested a dried apricot. Now, over the years, I've kind of worked it into things that I liked better than what they suggested on some of them. So these are dried apples that have been in the bag for about 20 years, but they kind of are shaped like an ear, and they're so leathery and gross now that they actually kind of feel like an ear. So those are in the bag, and those were not in other bags in a plastic bag. But if you had put them in a plastic bag, they wouldn't have turned black, but because they haven't been, but like I said, it's been in the 20 years or plus. So then the eyes, these are my eyes once clear and sharp. Don't lose them or you'll be playing the harp. And what you do is I get a zip baggie and I peel grapes ahead of time. That's what they suggested, peeled grapes. And I put them in I usually do 4 just because there's a boy or two that always squish them. So I always have backups. And so I put them in a zip baggie, and then I open the baggie. After I read it, I open the baggie and then let them feel it. So I have it all in the bags ahead of time so that they can do that. Also, at the beginning, I hand a roll of paper towel around because their hands will get gross. And so I send paper towels around and let them rip off a paper towel so that they can wipe their hands on it. Okay, the next one is teeth. These are my teeth, once bright and strong. Don't drop them or you won't have yours long. I probably should read it up to the computers, but anyway, you can get on my blog and type, just print it out from my blog. So the teeth, I should probably also have these in a bag, but I don't. So I wanted them different shapes and sizes. So it's sunflower seeds, pine nuts, and corn is what that is. And so there's some canine type feeling ones, and there's some more of a molar type with the bigger pieces of corn. Okay, then the tongue. I'll read it over here. This is my tongue. Once in my mouth tight, don't pinch it or I'll come out and haunt you tonight. So this one, they suggested a piece of leather soaked in liquid soap. Sorry, got itchy nose. But I liked the green scrubber better. These are just the dollar store green scrubbers. And I just put a squirt of liquid dish soap on it, and then I mush it around. So, because if you put too much, then they put their hand in and they come out with a lot of soap on their hands. So, one little squirt, squish it around, make it, so when they put their hand in, it's kind of sticky like a tongue would be. So, so this is an example of the bag. So, I squirt it in right before I go, and then when I made these, I cut out 4 or 5 of them, and I have a bag of backup parts, like this. There's a sponge and some rubber gloves that you use. And so I just put extra ones in there so that when I pull the kit out, I'd have everything I needed. So I have extra of these cut. So I can just, when it's over, after all the hands have been in there and everything, I can just throw it away. So I open the bag like that and have it in. So I have it inside there ready when I get there. And when I'm reading it, I'll just reach in and open the bag, the little bag. And so when they reach in, they can just feel that. So that's how I hand it around with the little bag inside. So that's the tongue, and it feels really kind of gross because it's like slimy and textured. So they kind of like that one. I always get when they do that one. Okay, the hair, it says, this is my hair once flowing and free. Don't pull it or I'll scare you from your tree. And they suggested corn silk, but that is really soft, and I didn't want it to be like soft. So what I did was I got some of that really rough sailor's kind of rope, and I pulled it apart, and it's really coarse. So it looks like corn silk, but it's really coarse. And then I stuck some thicker jute kind of things. I had 2 kits for each class, so this was the 2 kits together. So there wouldn't be tons of hair in there, but they could kind of get the feel as different textures when they felt it. Now I've got it all over my keyboard. So anyway, that's the hair. And you don't have to use what I use, and you don't have to use what they suggest. They suggested corn silk, but and then on the teeth they suggested just corn. But you can tell I kind of changed it over the years. Let's see, my piles got confused. Okay, let's see. We've done eyes. They really got confused. Okay, hand. So this is what you have to do ahead of time. The peeled grapes, some kind of noodle, and the hand all need to be done ahead of time. The other things you can have, you know, and the wet sponge, you need those right before you're ready. But the night before, you have to do the hand. So I get the really soft latex rubber gloves. You don't want one with powder on it, so you can use the nitrate gloves, but you don't want the powdered latex because you don't want any of the kids to get it on their hands and then have allergic reaction. So probably the blue or the green non-hyperallergenic gloves would be best for this, but they're a little more stiff and they don't give when it freezes. And so what happens is if it starts to split and it's not quite frozen, you'll get a weird chunk on it. So don't feel it over full, but you want it full enough. So I had a bunch of these kind in there because they're stretchy enough that they didn't break. So be aware if you're using the hyperallergenic ones that you need to be careful to not overfill them because they will break, and you need to be able to tie a knot in them. So I usually, or you can wash any powder off and get them really clean, but still you would want to not have a problem. So you can also, once it's frozen, you can peel the rubber off of it, but then it starts to melt rather quickly with all the little warm hands touching it. So I usually would do 2 of them because I do 2 bags going around. And when you freeze them, you have to lay them flat because if it hangs down like that, they will freeze in that form. So one time I had a finger somehow that was like this. So you don't want, so just lay it, put water in it, and then I tie it in a knot, and then I lay it flat on a cookie sheet, and it freezes great, and the fingers are open, and it freezes really well. So, and then I have a little cooler that I would put it in and take it to the class party or the activity, and that way it would be ready. So then I also learned to put that, because the condensation would rip the bag open, so I also put that in like a thin produce bag, because the hand is bigger than a baggie and it's kind of awkward. So I do that. So I just had a couple extra gloves in the kit so that I could do it quickly and not have to go search if I didn't have. I use rubber gloves for a lot of things because of the parasite situation that I have. So I go through gloves a lot. So these ones are just in there with the kit, so I know I always have one handy. Okay, the next one is brain. Oh, wait, the hand one is, this is my hand one, strong and bold, feel it now, it's icy cold. And they always kind of scream when they put their hand in there. And I also tell them, well, so let me finish and I'll tell you, but I'll just tell you now. I tell the kids, don't squeeze the item that's in there, and don't tell anybody what you think the item is, because we're going to have a question and answer at the end if you can guess what it is. So at the end, I pull it out the bags and I'll show them what's in it. So just remind them not to pull it out and look in the bag. So they kind of have to just reach in and not look at it. This is my brain once clear and bright. Don't squeeze it or you won't sleep tonight. So the brain is a sponge. So I just keep the sponge. I dry the same sponge every year and just let it dry completely. And then I get it a little bit wet. Don't make it super wet. I've made that mistake before. I like squeeze all the water out of it. You just want it a little damp so that it feels kind of brainy. I'm sure there's other items you could use also that would work for that, but this has worked fine over the years. So there's that. And then the last one is, these are my guts. Don't let them fool you. I still have enough left to ghost and ghoul you. So I used to use spaghetti or angel hair pasta, but when they squeeze it, it gets really mushy. And if you have a lot of boys in the group, they will squish it and it gets squishy. So what I've gone to is rice noodles. They don't squish and get overcooked as much as pasta, and I don't have to spend as much time getting them ready. So what I do is I just get a mug of water and I'll boil it for a minute or two in the microwave, and then I just I'll break off a little bit of the rice noodles that I have in the cupboard off and put them in the warm water and let them sit for a minute. They literally take like a minute to do, and yet they look like guts. And the kids don't know what rice noodles are, so when they're guessing at the end, it's kind of fun to say, nope, it's not a spaghetti. It kind of is a spaghetti, and they are still sticky now. I'm like, ooh, why did I put my hand in there? So anyway, but any kind of long noodle will work for the guts, but you just don't want to overcook them. So this was easy. It takes 2 minutes. I didn't have to boil them down forever. So, I don't want to put that back in there. I'm throwing that away. So check out my blog, get it ready the night before, and then the day of, I'll just peel the grapes. And I always put a note on the door going out the door, don't forget the hand, because you don't want to have to come back if you forget the hand in the freezer. So I always put a note on the bag that I'm taking with the activities and the treats. I always put a note on it, don't forget the hand, or I hang the little cooler that I take it in on the door so that I can't leave the house without the hand, because you get rushed and stressed and you're trying to get there on time and with all your whatevers. So that's one way I always remember to not forget the hand that's in the freezer ahead of time. So I will go ahead and put this on my blog, and you can print it up and take it, and it's a really fun activity. The kids love it. And then I usually take some kind of treat for them at the end. So anyway, there's that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, or if you have any suggestions of something that would work better than what I did, you can add that as well. But that was a fun activity. It's always been a hit, and it's enjoyable. So thanks for watching, and have a happy Halloween and a blessed day.